Good morning, cousins. So, I'm here in Ipswich and found a couple of the houses where Grammy possibly passed her time when she was a little girl in the early 1910s, I guess. So, over here, this house right here, this is the Caldwell house, which was built circa 1733. So this is where her Aunt Annie Andrews and her uncle Arthur lived. And this is on High Street in Ipswich again. This is actually number 40 High Street. They would have been living in this house probably about 1916. Now, tradition has it that when Grammy was a little girl, her cousin, their son, George, used to play the piano. And somewhere in this house, there was like a landing that Grammy would sit on, and she would listen secretly to her cousin George play the piano. And that's what helped her just develop her love for music, and especially classical piano music, very early on in her life. So, this is 40 High Street. Now, the next one they lived in was number 35 High Street, which was kind of across the way. And it would have been just over to the right of that orange house. That was her Uncle Arthur and Aunt Annie. However, I'm not sure that Grammy would have spent her time in that house at all as a little girl. But it's quite possible, because they lived there in 1921. However, that house no longer exists, as you can see. It would have been where all those bushes are. Okay, so that's the first two of the three. All right, now I'm going to actually cross over. I'll do it from this side of the road. Now, the next place that her Uncle Arthur and Aunt Annie Andrews lived was right across the street here at number 43 High Street. And they were living in this house in 1924. This one. And I'm going to actually pause the video, cross the street, and give you a bigger view of the first house that I showed you. So here's the first house I showed you across the way. It's just beautiful. Now, the other really interesting fact is that, you know, how Grammy loved her genealogy and her ancestry. She never knew that down the road this way was where her 7 times great-grandfather, my 9 times great-grandfather, actually lived when he immigrated from England. And it was right down the road on the left-hand side, and that would have been John Wilde's, and he came from England with his brother, and they were both carpenters, and they lived right down the road, and their house would have been on the left, just before East Street. And then down this way is the old burial ground. So, thank you all for taking this little trip down memory lane with me.